as my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me.
In a shocking turn of events, Prince William has seized control at Balmoral after Camilla's grandchild made a brutal insult aimed at young Prince Louis. What was meant to be a peaceful royal gathering quickly turned into a tense family confrontation that insiders claim left the entire household stunned. As deepening divisions inside the monarchy continue to spread, many are now questioning whether William's dramatic response signals a major shift in royal power behind palace walls. But what exactly triggered this explosive fallout, and how far will it go? So, what do you think? Was Prince William right to react after Prince Louis was insulted? Or is this royal drama being exaggerated? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. The Balmoral insult. What should have been a calm and carefully managed royal gathering at Balmoral took a very different turn, becoming a moment many insiders now describe as a turning point inside the monarchy. The day began like any other private royal retreat, with family members sharing time away from the public eye. But behind the peaceful setting, tensions were quietly building in ways no one fully expected. According to reports, young Prince Louis had drifted away from the adults during a quiet moment in the grounds. It was there that Camilla's grandchild approached him and made deeply hurtful comments. The remarks were said to target not only Louis himself, but also his family. Even more painful, the comments touched on sensitive topics involving his mother, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and references linked to the tragic story of Princess Diana. Witnesses claimed the words were so harsh and shocking that Louis became overwhelmed with emotion. In a matter of seconds, the young prince burst into tears and ran back toward his mother, seeking comfort. The scene, though brief, was described as deeply unsettling by those nearby, as it broke the calm atmosphere of the gathering in an instant. However, what truly caught the attention of insiders was not only what happened to Louis, but the reaction from Catherine. Reports suggest that instead of responding immediately with visible emotion, she froze. Those who saw her described her expression as unusually cold, steady, and tightly controlled. It was not anger in the open sense, but something quieter and more intense that made staff members uneasy. Some palace aides felt that in that silent moment, something important had shifted. The atmosphere around her was said to change instantly, as if a line had been crossed that could not be ignored or taken back. What might have looked like a small family misunderstanding to outsiders is now being described by insiders as something far more serious within palace walls. In royal circles where image, respect, and restraint matter deeply, even a single moment like this can carry long-lasting weight. And for many watching closely, the question now is not just what was said, but what consequences may follow behind closed doors. Prince Louis ran to his mother after being insulted by Camilla's grandchild, yet Catherine remained quiet. Prince Louis ran to his mother after being insulted by Camilla's grandchild, yet Catherine remained quiet. But does Catherine's silence suggest that the matter is not as serious as her son's reaction made it appear? Or was she carefully considering a better way to handle the situation? If so, what could she be planning next? Let's uncover the intriguing details. Catherine's ultimatum behind closed doors. Away from the flashing cameras, the formal events, and the carefully controlled public image of the royal family, a very different kind of moment unfolded between Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. According to palace insiders, this was not a loud argument or a public confrontation, but something far more serious, quiet, tense, and deeply emotional in a way that changed the mood completely. Reports suggest that Catherine privately confronted William with a strong and emotional warning about what had taken place at Balmoral. In that private exchange, she reminded him of something painful from the past, how the monarchy once struggled to protect Princess Diana from emotional harm and public pressure. Her message was simple but powerful. She would not allow history to repeat itself with their own children. Insiders claim that her words carried a heavy emotional weight, not just as a wife, but as a mother speaking from deep fear and protection. She is said to have made it clear that Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis must never be exposed to the kind of emotional strain, public tension, or family conflict that once surrounded Diana's life. For William, those words landed in a very personal and painful place. The conversation brought back long-buried memories of his childhood, moments marked by confusion, loss, and the public breakdown of his parents' marriage. In that instant, this was no longer about rumors, palace gossip, or even family disagreement. It became something far more personal and serious. According to sources close to the situation, William began to see the situation differently. What may have first looked like a small family incident was now being viewed through the lens of history repeating itself. The idea that his own children could be pulled into emotional tension inside the royal environment shook him deeply. Palace insiders described this as a turning point. The silence, which once felt like the safest option for a royal figure, started to feel impossible to maintain. Instead, William is said to have realized that doing nothing could carry its own consequences. In that quiet but powerful exchange, everything shifted. What followed was not just a reaction, but the beginning of a firmer stance, one shaped by memory, protection, and the fear of history repeating itself inside the walls of the monarchy. Catherine made William see the importance of protecting their children from emotional harm. But will this conversation remain private between the couple alone? Or could senior aides be summoned because of the incident involving Camilla's grandchild and Prince Louis? If so, what direction might their decisions take? Let's uncover the details. The palace crackdown begins. The morning after the Balmoral incident, Kensington Palace was thrown into an unusual state of strict control and silence. According to palace insiders, the atmosphere felt different from a normal, busy morning. Instead of routine updates and planned engagements, senior aides were quietly called into an emergency closed-door meeting. Staff movement was restricted, and even communication lines were said to be closely monitored. In some accounts, phones were temporarily handed over, adding to the sense that something serious was being handled behind the scenes. Legal advisors and senior protocol officials were also brought in without public notice. There was no announcement, no official explanation, and no visible signs outside the palace that anything unusual was happening. Yet inside, the mood was described as tense and highly organized, as if decisions of long-term importance were being prepared. It was at this point, according to insiders, that Prince William entered the meeting carrying a detailed briefing folder. What was inside, they claim, represented a clear and structured response to the events at Balmoral. Rather than emotion or reaction, it was described as a methodical breakdown of how Camilla's wider family's growing ceremonial presence within royal life could be reduced or removed. Sources suggest that every possible path for future visibility was carefully reviewed. Invitations to royal events, balcony appearances, participation in ceremonial traditions, and involvement in official public-facing roles were all examined and then gradually removed from consideration. Even future honorary appearances or symbolic roles were cut off in a step-by-step process. Some palace staff later referred to this internal shift as the erasure mandate, a phrase used to describe how quickly and completely the changes were implemented behind closed doors. What unsettled many insiders was not anger or loud confrontation, but the exact opposite. William, they said, remained calm, controlled, and highly focused throughout the process. There were no emotional outbursts or visible frustration, only clear instructions and firm decisions. Because of this, the response felt even more serious to those involved. It was not loud enough to fade away or be forgotten. It was quiet, precise, and structured in a way that suggested finality. And for many within palace walls, that calm approach made the outcome feel not temporary, but lasting. William took the matter so seriously that he summoned senior aides and explained in detail why action was needed. But will William involve his father before any final decision is made? Or, given the gravity of the situation, will he choose to act in a way he believes is best without hurting his father's authority or emotions? Let's find out. A bold break from royal tradition. What truly shocked Buckingham Palace most was not only the scale of William's response, but the way it was carried out. According to palace insiders, the most surprising detail was the order in which events unfolded. Instead of first seeking approval or discussing the matter with King Charles, William is said to have put the decision into action and only informed his father afterward in writing. For a monarchy built on centuries of tradition, this approach was seen as highly unusual. The royal system has always depended on clear lines of authority, where decisions flow through established ranks and major actions are discussed before being carried out. Permission, consultation, and careful agreement have long been part of how the institution maintains balance and stability. However, insiders claim that in this situation, those traditional steps were not followed in the usual way. William is said to have moved forward first, and only later sent a formal letter to the king explaining what had already been done. The tone of the message, according to reports, was respectful and controlled, but its content left little room for discussion. There was no room for discussion, no call for advice, and no chance to question it. It was simply announced as a final decision already set in motion, with no way to change it. For many courtiers, what stood out most was not the decision itself, but the firm and unmovable way it was delivered. Palace observers described the moment as a quiet but important shift in how power was being exercised within the royal family. While William is still the heir to the throne, this action was seen by some as moving beyond the role of waiting successor and closer to that of active authority. According to insiders, this is what unsettled many within the institution. It suggested a style that was less about preparation for the future and more about taking control in the present. Even though everything was handled formally and respectfully, the lack of consultation changed how some courtiers viewed the balance of power. In that moment, behind the polished language and careful wording, many felt they were witnessing something significant. Not a break in tradition that was loud or public, but a quiet shift in how decisions could be made and who was truly beginning to hold influence inside the monarchy. William implemented a directive before informing his father in a respectful manner. But why was he so swift in his decision? Could he have been driven by deep concern for the emotional well-being of his children? And what is his long-standing approach to protecting children's emotional health? Now, let's explore William's lifelong promise to raise emotionally safe children. A father's deepest fear. What made the Balmoral incident feel even more painful for Prince William, according to insiders, was how deeply it clashed with the kind of father he has tried to be for years. Over time, William has spoken in a very clear and open way about wanting something different for his children compared to the way earlier royal generations were raised. Unlike the old royal culture, where emotions were often hidden and people were expected to stay silent and strong no matter what, William has often suggested a more gentle approach at home. He has spoken about wanting Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis to grow up in an environment where they feel safe expressing their feelings, whether it is happiness, sadness, fear, or confusion. For him, emotional honesty is not a weakness, but something important for a healthy childhood. He has also spoken in the past about stepping away from the traditional stiff upper lip mindset when it comes at the cost of emotional well-being. Those ideas were never just public statements for him. According to people close to him, they come from real personal experience and deep reflection on his own life. William knows, more than most, what it feels like to deal with emotional pain in silence while still being expected to appear strong in public. Losing Princess Diana as a teenager, under the constant attention of the world, left a lasting mark on him. That experience is believed to have shaped many of his decisions as a father today. Because of that, many believe William has always carried a quiet determination to protect his children from similar emotional wounds. He has tried to build a home life that feels safe, warm, and steady, even with the pressure of royal duty surrounding them. This is why, according to palace sources, the image of young Prince Louis running through Balmoral in tears hit him so hard. It was not just about a single upsetting moment. It was about what that moment represented. For William, it may have felt like a painful reminder of everything he has tried so hard to prevent. In that instant, the distance between his ideals as a father and the reality unfolding in front of him became impossible to ignore. And that is what made the situation feel so personal, so emotional, and so difficult to shake. Beyond William being an advocate for child protection, both for his own children and others, what could have led to a situation where Camilla's grandchild insulted Prince Louis? Could Camilla's family have been given too much access to the palace? If so, were they truly entitled to that level of access, or was a privilege being misused? Let's unravel the details. The rise of Camilla's inner circle. Long before the Balmoral incident ever took place, some palace insiders were already said to be uneasy about a quiet but noticeable shift happening around royal life. At first, everything looked normal on the surface. Camilla's relatives appeared at family gatherings, joined for balcony appearances, and occasionally attended ceremonial events. There were also carefully arranged photos that showed a united and modern royal family. To the public, these moments looked harmless and even heartwarming, like a modern royal family growing closer and more united. It seemed like a positive sign of togetherness and change. But behind palace doors, whispers suggest not everyone was comfortable. Some reportedly felt the changes were happening too fast and too quietly. Over time, some staff and royal observers began to feel that Camilla's wider family circle was becoming more visible than before, slowly blending into the public image of the monarchy itself. What started as rare appearances was said to be turning into something more frequent, more natural, and harder to separate from official royal life. According to those same reports, a growing concern began to form in quiet conversations inside palace walls. Some believed that simply being close to the royal family was starting to look like official importance, even when no formal role had been given. This blurred line between family and institution caused tension among certain long-serving staff members who understood how carefully the royal image is usually controlled. At the same time, King Charles's ongoing health concerns added another layer of uncertainty to the situation. As discussions about the future of the monarchy naturally shifted toward the eventual reign of Prince William, the pressure inside royal circles increased. Questions about roles, influence, and long-term direction became more sensitive and more frequent. In this atmosphere, even small moments or family interactions were said to carry more weight than usual. What might have once been dismissed as simple family closeness began to be viewed through a more serious and cautious lens. According to insiders, the Balmoral incident did not create these existing tensions. Instead, it acted like a spark in a room where pressure had already been quietly building for some time. In that sense, it did not start the fire. It simply brought everything already beneath the surface, suddenly and dramatically, into view. Long before William made a directive affecting Camilla, her family had already gained access to the palace. But will Camilla accept William's decision without challenge? What efforts might she make to defend her family's influence, which could be seen as part of her support system? And will King Charles side with his wife or his son? Let's find out. The Palace Rift. According to palace whispers, the aftermath of William's actions triggered intense tension within royal walls, especially involving Queen Camilla. Staff members are said to have noticed a sharp change in the atmosphere as she reacted strongly after learning what had taken place. Some accounts describe hurried conversations, closed-door discussions, and a clear sense of urgency as she sought King Charles' intervention to reverse the situation. Insiders claim that Camilla believed the decision should not have been made without full agreement from the king, and that it challenged long-standing royal structure. The corridors of the palace, according to these reports, were filled with quiet tension as aides moved quickly between offices, trying to manage a rapidly developing situation. However, what happened next surprised even experienced courtiers. King Charles is said to have refused to overrule his son. Instead of stepping in to reverse William's actions, the king chose not to interfere. Those close to the situation suggest that his decision was influenced by both exhaustion from ongoing family strain and his current health challenges, which have placed added pressure on him in recent times. More importantly, insiders believe Charles understood something that others around him were struggling to accept. According to these accounts, he recognized that the emotional and practical center of gravity within the monarchy had been gradually shifting toward Prince William and Catherine. Their growing role, public trust, and steady image were becoming more influential in shaping how the institution was viewed. As this realization settled in, palace staff are said to have begun adjusting quietly to the new reality. Some started aligning more closely with the Wales household, observing where decisions and influence seemed to be concentrating. It was not an official change, but a subtle repositioning driven by instinct and awareness of future direction. For the first time in many years, proximity to the reigning monarch was no longer seen as the only source of security or influence. Camilla's wider circle, once viewed as firmly established within royal life, was now experiencing a shift in status and attention. Inside Buckingham Palace, many courtiers began to feel that a long-standing chapter of royal life was slowly coming to an end. Not through sudden announcement or formal declaration, but through quiet decisions, shifting loyalties, and an undeniable sense that a new era was gradually taking shape behind closed doors. William's directive to limit Camilla's family, following the alleged incident involving her grandchild and Prince Louis, was not overruled by his father. But what does this imply about William's growing influence? Could it suggest he will become even more decisive when he eventually becomes king? And what kind of ruler might he become? Let's uncover the details. The making of a future king. What shocked some palace insiders was not only the incident itself, but the idea that Prince William's reaction may not have been as unexpected as it first appeared to outsiders. According to royal observers and those familiar with palace life, William has long been seen as someone preparing for a very different style of leadership when he eventually becomes king. Over the years, many have described the Prince of Wales as a future monarch who will not shy away from difficult decisions, even when those decisions are unpopular. Instead of avoiding conflict, he is often seen as someone who may choose to face it directly when he believes it is necessary for the good of the monarchy or his family. Alongside Princess Catherine, William has also helped shape a more modern image of royal life. Together, they are often presented as a younger, more relatable face of the monarchy. Their focus on family values, mental well-being, and public service has helped build an image of warmth and stability. They are also known for trying to give their children a more normal upbringing, away from excessive pressure and emotional distance. However, according to some insiders, there is another side to William that is not always visible to the public. Behind the calm and thoughtful public image, sources claim there is a man who can be firm, deeply protective, and unshakably serious when it comes to his family or the future of the institution. Those same reports suggest that William does not easily forget moments he sees as harmful or disrespectful, especially when they involve people he loves. When pushed into difficult situations, he is said to become quiet, focused, and willing to make decisions that may not please everyone around him. After Balmoral, some inside the palace reportedly sensed the first signs of William's future leadership beginning to emerge. It was no longer seen as a simple family dispute, but as a serious moment, revealing how a future king may act when limits are crossed, and the protection of his family becomes a priority. For those close to the situation, the moment served as a reminder that the future of the monarchy is not only about tradition and image, but also about strength, protection, and firm decision-making when it matters most. Beyond William and Catherine's known preference for a more modern style of monarchy, what has been the public reaction to the alleged insult involving their child? But will William ever soften his stance, or is his decision final regardless of who may be affected? Now, let's explore how the monarchy chose its future. The powerful shift in the monarchy. As reports of the fallout began to circulate more widely, public attention shifted in a noticeable way. Instead of focusing on internal royal disagreements, many people started to express growing sympathy for Prince William, Princess Catherine, and their children. During public appearances, some crowds were said to have reacted warmly toward the Wales family, offering applause, supportive gestures, and emotional encouragement that reflected a strong sense of connection. At the same time, social media platforms were filled with resurfaced images and videos of Princess Diana, especially moments where she was seen protecting and comforting her young sons, William and Harry. These old memories carried a powerful emotional weight for many people. They were shared widely, often accompanied by comments expressing concern that painful patterns from the past might be appearing again in a new form. For a large portion of the public, the situation stopped feeling like simple royal gossip or distant palace politics. Instead, it began to feel more personal and emotional, as though a familiar story was repeating itself. Many viewers framed it as a question of whether history was in danger of affecting another generation of royal children. However, according to palace accounts, Prince William did not step back or remain silent in response to the situation. Insiders claim that once decisions were made inside the palace, there was no reversal, no negotiation, and no softening of the position. The directive remained in place exactly as it was, without changes or compromise. This firm stance, according to those same reports, sent a very clear message both inside and outside royal circles. It suggested that under the future leadership of William and Catherine, the protection and emotional safety of royal children would be treated as a top priority. More importantly, it would come before family ties, internal alliances, or long-standing traditions linked to royal hierarchy. For many observers, it appeared to be a quiet but powerful signal about where the monarchy may be heading in the coming years. No public speech explained it, and no official statement clarified its purpose. Still, the message felt clear enough on its own, and its impact was strongly felt across royal watchers and insiders alike. In a calm, controlled way, the monarchy appeared to quietly point toward its next chapter. It suggested that the future may no longer be guided only by long-standing tradition, but also by a new way of thinking, one where protecting family members and respecting personal boundaries matters just as much as duty. In doing so, it hinted at a shift in priorities that could reshape how the royal family operates going forward. What do you think about William's directive? Was he right to take such a firm stance, or did he go too far? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.